Welcome back, American coin hunter. Imagine holding a single copper-colored coin in your fingers, a coin so ordinary at first glance that millions of people have spent it without a second thought, dropped it into jars, ignored it on sidewalks, or tossed it into cash registers. Yet hidden inside this humble 1-cent piece from 1981 is a story so powerful, so complex, and so valuable that under the right circumstances it has been connected to values reaching into the hundreds of millions of dollars when viewed through the lens of rarity, error classification, historical timing, collector demand, and speculative aggregation. And that coin is the United States 1 cent dated 1981. The year 1981 sits at one of the most important crossroads in American coin history, a year that quietly bridges two eras of metal composition, manufacturing precision, and error frequency, making it a silent giant in the world of numismatics. The 1981 penny weighs approximately 3.11 grams if it is struck in the traditional bronze alloy of 95% copper and 5% zinc and tin, a composition that had defined the Lincoln cent for decades. Yet by this time, the United States Mint was already under immense pressure due to rising copper prices, inflation, and production costs, leading to experimental practices, tighter tolerances, and mechanical stress inside minting facilities that created the perfect storm for rare and dramatic mint errors. The diameter of the coin measures 19.05 millimeters, the thickness roughly 1.52 millimeters, and the edge is smooth. Yet within these simple physical properties lies enormous variation when errors occur, variations that collectors hunt obsessively across the globe. The obverse design features Abraham Lincoln, facing right, his portrait originally designed by Victor David Brenner in 1909, making the Lincoln cent one of the longest-running designs in United States coinage history, and by 1981 this design had already passed through generations of hands, wars, economic collapses, technological revolutions, and political transformations. The word liberty appears to the left of Lincoln, a simple word yet one that symbolizes freedom, endurance, and the American identity, while the date 1981 rests to the right, a date that now acts as a gateway into one of the most misunderstood and underappreciated markets in modern numismatics. Above Lincoln's head is the national motto, "In God We Trust," a phrase that has appeared on U.S. coins since the Civil War era and represents both cultural faith and historical continuity. On the reverse side, the familiar Lincoln Memorial dominates the design. Introduced in 1959 to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth, with the tiny seated statue of Lincoln visible between the memorial columns, a detail so small that many people never notice it. Yet its clarity or distortion under magnification can help authenticate a genuine strike or reveal subtle mint anomalies. The words United States of America curve along the top, 1 cent rests at the bottom, and E pluribus unum spans above the memorial, tying together the concept of unity from many. Now here is where the story of the 1981 penny explodes into something far beyond face value, because while billions of cents were produced in that era, not all pennies are created equal. And the 1981 cent exists in multiple mint varieties, including Philadelphia with no mint mark, Denver marked with a D, and San Francisco, which primarily produced proof coins, each mint having its own machinery, quality controls, and error patterns. The Philadelphia Mint alone produced over 4 billion cents in 1981, yet within that massive output are microscopic populations of coins that escaped normal quality standards and entered circulation with errors so severe or so unusual that they fundamentally transformed their identity from currency into artifact. Among the most sought-after errors are off-center strikes where the design is shifted dramatically due to misaligned planchets, sometimes revealing blank copper space that proves the mechanical failure during striking. There are broad strikes where the coin was struck without a retaining collar, causing it to expand outward, altering its diameter and thickness, and creating a distorted rim that collectors prize. There are double die errors where the hubbing process misaligned, resulting in doubling of letters, numbers, or Lincoln's features, especially visible in the date or the word liberty. And when these doubling patterns are strong, verified, and matched to known die markers, their value can escalate exponentially. Even more dramatic are wrong planchet errors, where a 1981 cent was accidentally struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination or composition, such as a zinc planchet, a foreign blank, or experimental alloy, producing weight deviations that immediately trigger alarm bells for experienced numismatists. A standard bronze 1981 cent weighs around 3.11 grams, but error examples have been documented weighing significantly less or more, indicating composition anomalies, clipped blanks, or improper alloy mixing. Die cracks, cut errors, missing letters, filled dies, rotated dies, and partial blockage all add layers to the complexity of this coin, turning what seems like pocket change into a forensic object of industrial history. The historical importance of 1981 cannot be overstated because it was the final full year before the United States Mint officially transitioned the Lincoln cent to a primarily zinc composition in 1982, making 1981 one of the last years where traditional copper-based cents dominated production. This transition created internal chaos, experimental trials, and accelerated die usage, all of which increased the likelihood of error coins escaping into circulation. Collectors view 1981 as a pressure year, a year where systems were strained, decisions were rushed, and quality variations widened. And in numismatics, strain creates rarity. This is why the 1981 penny with error occupies a psychological position in the market far larger than its face value or mintage numbers suggest. When people hear claims of massive valuations, including figures such as $241 million, it is essential to understand how such numbers are framed in the collectible world. No single ordinary 1981 penny sells for hundreds of millions of dollars in isolation, but the $241 million valuation narrative emerges from aggregated market modeling that considers the cumulative value of all known extreme grade, top population, error classified, historically significant 1981 cents held privately in museums, institutional collections, long-term investor vaults, and certified registries, combined with speculative future demand curves, copper scarcity economics, and the psychological premium placed on final-era copper cents. In high-end numismatics, markets often discuss total category value rather than single coin price, and when collectors, funds, and auction houses analyze the 1981 error cent category as a whole, including unique or nearly unique specimens, the theoretical market capitalization can reach staggering numbers. Certified examples graded MS 67, MS 68, or proof-like error strikes command extraordinary premiums, especially when accompanied by full documentation, die attribution, and provenance. A dramatic off-metal or wrong planchet 1981 cent authenticated by a major grading service can sell for tens of thousands or more, while unique error types with no known duplicates can effectively set their own market value. Over time, as copper becomes more regulated, circulation copper disappears, and interest in transitional era coinage intensifies, the perceived importance of 1981 continues to rise. Collectors are no longer just buying coins, they are buying moments in industrial history, moments frozen in metal where human error, machine fatigue, and economic pressure intersected. The psychology of the collector plays a critical role here because the Lincoln cent is familiar to nearly everyone, and familiarity breeds emotional connection. When collectors discover that something so common can hide something so rare, it triggers obsession, treasure hunt behavior, and lifelong searching. Thousands of people around the world actively examine rolls, jars, and inherited collections looking for that one 1981 penny that feels different, weighs differently, sounds different when dropped, or reveals doubling under magnification. This constant searching feeds the market, fuels demand, and keeps prices alive even during economic downturns. As the story of the 1981 1 cent continues to unfold, it becomes even more compelling when we look deeper into how minting technology of the early 1980s directly influenced the kinds of errors that now define the most valuable examples of this coin. During this period, the United States Mint was operating high-speed presses designed to meet enormous demand for small denomination coinage, and these machines often ran for extended hours under heavy load. Dies were pushed close to the limits of their usable lifespan, sometimes striking hundreds of thousands of planchets before replacement, and as metal fatigue set in, cracks formed, details softened, and alignment tolerances loosened. This is why 1981 cents frequently show dramatic die cracks that run through Lincoln's portrait, across lettering, or through the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. And when those cracks break away entirely, they form what collectors call cud errors, raised blobs of metal that interrupt the design and instantly identify the coin as something far outside the norm. These cuds are not damage. They are frozen moments of die failure, and each one is unique, meaning no two are exactly alike, which elevates their desirability exponentially. Another critical aspect of the 1981 penny story lies in doubled die errors, which are often misunderstood by casual observers. True doubled dies occur during the hubbing process, when the design is impressed into the die multiple times and shifts slightly between impressions. On a 1981 cent, this can create strong doubling on the date, especially the 1 and 9, or on the word liberty, where letters appear thickened, split, or shadowed. Unlike machine doubling, which is flat and worthless, true double dies show rounded, separated design elements, and when authenticated, they become centerpieces of advanced collections. Some 1981 double die cents are subtle and require magnification to appreciate, while others are bold enough to be visible to the naked eye. And those bold examples can command extraordinary prices when preserved in high mint state condition. Weight anomalies also play a crucial role in identifying rare 1981 cents. A standard bronze cent from this year weighs about 3.11 grams, but collectors routinely encounter coins weighing 2.8 grams, 2.5 grams, or even lower, which can indicate clipped planchets, improper alloy mixes, or thin planchets caused by rolling errors at the strip mill before blanks were punched. On the other end of the spectrum, overweight examples may indicate retained metal, laminations, or foreign material bonded to the planchet during striking. Laminated errors are particularly fascinating, where a portion of the metal peels or splits away from the surface, revealing internal flaws in the alloy strip. These errors are visual proof that even the raw materials feeding the minting process were imperfect, and in 1981, as copper prices fluctuated and sourcing pressures increased, such imperfections became more common. The Denver Mint's 1981 cents add another layer to the narrative, because Denver's production environment and die preparation methods differed slightly from Philadelphia's. While Denver also produced massive quantities of cents, certain error types appear more frequently on Denver issues, including repunched mint marks. Although by 1981 mint marks were being punched into the dies rather than the working hubs, making repunching less common but still possible. A repunched D-mint mark on a 1981 cent, where the letter appears doubled or offset, is a highly collectible variety, especially when combined with other errors such as die cracks or off-center strikes. These multi-error coins are rare because they require multiple failures to occur simultaneously, and when they do, the market treats them as elite-level specimens. San Francisco proof cents from 1981 introduce yet another dimension, because proof coins are struck with specially prepared dies and planchets, under higher pressure, and typically inspected more carefully. Errors on proof coins are far rarer, which means when a 1981 proof cent escapes with a defect such as a doubled die, off-metal strike, or missing element, it can become legendary within numismatic circles. Proof errors challenge assumptions about perfection and demonstrate that even the highest quality processes are vulnerable to human and mechanical limitations. These coins are often preserved in near-perfect condition, amplifying their visual impact and market value. The historical backdrop of 1981 also amplifies collector interest. This was a time of economic uncertainty in the United States, marked by high inflation, rising metal prices, and shifts in manufacturing philosophy. The decision to move away from copper was not taken lightly. It represented a fundamental change in how the nation viewed its coinage, prioritizing cost efficiency over intrinsic metal value. As a result, 1981 cents are often seen as symbolic relics of the last copper era, and symbolism is a powerful driver of value. Collectors are drawn not just to rarity, but to meaning, and a coin that represents the end of an era carries emotional and historical weight that transcends its physical form. When discussions arise about market values reaching figures like $241 million, it is important to understand how advanced collectors and investors conceptualize worth. They do not think in terms of single transactions alone, but in terms of entire populations, registries, and future scarcity. If one considers the total number of high-grade, error classified, copper-based 1981 cents known to exist, and assigns conservative valuations based on rarity, demand, and historical significance. The cumulative market value of this category can reach staggering theoretical heights. This kind of valuation is common in other collectible markets as well, such as art, vintage watches, or classic cars, where the total value of all known examples of a specific rare model can far exceed the price of any single piece. Auction records over time show a clear trend. Exceptional error coins from transitional or pressure years steadily appreciate as knowledge spreads and collector bases expand. Coins that once sold for a few $100s decades ago now command thousands or more, and those with unique or near-unique characteristics often remain tightly held, rarely appearing on the open market. This creates a feedback loop where scarcity drives desire, desire drives price, and price reinforces the perception of importance. The 1981 penny fits perfectly into this model because it is accessible enough that people believe they might find one, yet rare enough in its extreme forms that ownership conveys status and expertise. Another fascinating aspect of the 1981 cent story is the sound test and visual texture that experienced collectors use as informal screening tools. Copper cents produce a distinct ringing tone when dropped compared to zinc-based cents, and seasoned collectors can often tell immediately whether a coin is solid bronze simply by feel and sound. Surface color also provides clues, with genuine copper cents displaying rich brown, red-brown, or full red tones depending on preservation, while zinc cents often show dullness or corrosion beneath thin copper plating. In 1981, nearly all cents were still copper-based, but error coins with unusual surfaces or coloration can indicate improper alloying or contamination, further elevating their interest as more collectors turn to roll hunting and metal detecting. The pool of discovered 1981 errors continues to grow slowly, but the pool of undiscovered examples shrinks, creating a race against time. Coins lost to corrosion, damage, or melting are gone forever, reducing the surviving population and increasing the relative importance of those that remain. Each newly discovered major error adds another chapter to the story, another data point that reshapes market understanding and fuels speculation about what else might still be out there. As attention deepens even further into the world of the 1981 1 cent, the narrative begins to shift from simple error identification into the realm of long-term survival, preservation, and the invisible factors that determine whether a coin becomes an ordinary curiosity or a legendary artifact. Condition is everything in numismatics, and with a coin as widely circulated as the 1981 cent, finding an example that has survived decades without abrasion, discoloration, or environmental damage is already uncommon, even before errors are considered. When an error coin also retains sharp strike detail, original luster, and minimal contact marks, it enters a rare tier that collectors compete aggressively to acquire. These coins are often removed from circulation quickly once discovered, sometimes by chance, sometimes by sharp-eyed individuals who sensed something unusual long before the market recognized its importance. The grading process itself adds another layer of complexity and mystique to the 1981 penny story. Professional grading services examine coins under high magnification, evaluating strike quality, surface preservation, luster, and eye appeal, while also authenticating error characteristics and assigning variety attributions. A difference of a single grade point can mean the difference between a coin valued in the hundreds and one valued in the tens of thousands, especially in a series where top population coins are tightly clustered. Registry competition among advanced collectors further amplifies this effect, because being the owner of the finest known example of a particular error variety becomes a matter of prestige. This competition drives prices upward in ways that often surprise outsiders, reinforcing the idea that value is as much about scarcity and status as it is about metal or age. Environmental factors also play a critical role in shaping the surviving population of 1981 cents. Copper is reactive, and exposure to moisture, air pollutants, or acidic environments can quickly degrade a coin's surface, creating corrosion, spotting, or color changes that permanently reduce desirability. Coins stored in dry, stable environments, such as rolls kept in drawers, safes, or original mint packaging, have a far greater chance of surviving in collectible condition. This is why many of the best examples discovered today trace their origins to long-forgotten hoards, estate collections, or bank-held rolls that were set aside decades ago and only recently re-examined. Each such discovery sends ripples through the collector community, renewing interest and reminding everyone that treasures can still emerge from the most ordinary places. Another dimension of the 1981 cent's appeal lies in its role as a teaching coin, often used by educators, dealers, and experienced collectors to introduce newcomers to the concepts of mint errors, die varieties, and transitional eras. Because the coin is affordable in its normal form, people are willing to learn on it, searching through rolls, practicing magnification techniques, and developing an eye for detail. This constant educational use keeps the 1981 cent in circulation within the hobby's collective consciousness, ensuring that demand remains strong even as time passes. Coins that serve as gateways into a hobby often maintain relevance far longer than those that are rare but inaccessible. The idea of worth reaching into the hundreds of millions of dollars becomes more understandable when one considers the global scale of numismatics. Collectors and investors span continents, and interest in American coinage is particularly strong due to its historical documentation, standardized grading, and transparent auction records. When rare 1981 cents change hands privately between high-net-worth collectors or institutions, those transactions may never appear in public price guides, yet they still contribute to the overall perceived value of the category. Add to this the influence of media, online communities, and video platforms where stories of extraordinary finds spread rapidly, and the psychological momentum behind certain coins can grow at an astonishing pace. The cultural resonance of Abraham Lincoln further enhances this effect. Lincoln is not just a historical figure. He is a symbol of unity, perseverance, and moral leadership. Coins bearing his image carry an emotional weight that extends beyond numismatics into broader cultural memory. When a Lincoln cent from a pivotal year like 1981 becomes associated with rarity and high value, that emotional connection intensifies. People are more inclined to care, to search, and to believe in the potential of such a coin, and belief is a powerful force in any collectible market. Technological advances in recent decades have also reshaped how 1981 cents are studied and valued. High-resolution imaging, digital microscopes, and online databases allow collectors to compare die markers, crack progression, and doubling patterns with unprecedented precision. Errors that might once have been dismissed as damage are now reclassified as legitimate mint anomalies, expanding the recognized universe of collectible varieties. This reclassification process can suddenly elevate previously ignored coins into sought-after rarities, creating sudden shifts in demand and price. In this way, the story of the 1981 penny is not static. It continues to evolve as knowledge deepens and technology improves. The market behavior surrounding these coins often reflects broader economic trends. During times of financial uncertainty, tangible assets like rare coins attract increased attention as stores of value. Copper-based cents from the final years before the transition to zinc carry an added appeal because they represent a physical commodity as well as a historical artifact. Although the intrinsic copper value of a single cent is modest, the symbolic association with metal scarcity and inflation-era policy decisions resonates with investors who view such coins as microcosms of larger economic narratives. Collectors who specialize in error coins often describe the pursuit as addictive because each discovery feels like uncovering a hidden message left behind by history. The 1981 cent, with its high mintage and transitional context, offers endless opportunities for such discoveries. Every roll searched carries the possibility of revealing an off-center strike, a dramatic die crack, or a subtle doubled element that has gone unnoticed for decades. This sense of possibility sustains interest and ensures that the hunt never truly ends, that as years turn into decades. The population of undiscovered 1981 error cents inevitably declines, not because interest wanes, but because the easy finds are exhausted. What remains are coins buried in collections, lost in circulation, or already recognized and preserved. This gradual tightening of supply, combined with steady or growing demand, is the foundation upon which long-term value is built. It is a slow process, often invisible in the short term, but powerful over time. In the end, the 1981 1 cent is far more than a piece of small change. It is a snapshot of a nation in transition, a testament to the imperfections of industrial processes, and a reminder that value can emerge from the most unassuming objects. Its errors tell stories of machines and people working under pressure. Its copper composition speaks to economic realities, and its market trajectory reflects human fascination with rarity and meaning. And as long as these stories continue to be told, studied, and believed, the legacy of the 1981 penny will endure, growing richer and more complex with each passing year. As the exploration moves even deeper, the 1981 1 cent begins to reveal how time itself acts as a silent partner in determining value, shaping perception, and filtering which coins survive long enough to matter. Every year that passes removes more examples from the potential collectible pool through loss, corrosion, mishandling, or simple neglect, and this slow attrition quietly transforms once common objects into scarce survivors. A penny dropped into a gutter in 1981, a jar forgotten in a damp basement, or a coin spent repeatedly through decades of commerce faces forces that are relentless and unforgiving. Only those cents that were accidentally spared, intentionally saved, or quickly recognized as unusual escape this fate, and among them, only a fraction display the kinds of errors that elevate them into elite territory. This natural selection process is invisible to most people, yet it is one of the most powerful engines driving long-term appreciation. The story also widens when considering how the 1981 cent interacts with the broader Lincoln cent series. Collectors rarely view a coin in isolation. Instead, they see it as part of a continuum that stretches from 1909 to the present day. Within that continuum, certain years stand out as key transition points, and 1981 is one of them. It sits at the edge of the copper-to-zinc shift, a boundary that divides the series into two fundamentally different physical realities. This makes the year especially attractive to date and mint collectors, error specialists, and type collectors alike, because it can anchor an entire narrative within a collection. When an error coin from such a year appears, it is not just an anomaly. It is a focal point that draws attention to the entire era. Market behavior around these coins often mirrors storytelling rather than strict accounting. A dramatic discovery, such as a previously unknown major error variety, can ignite excitement that ripples outward, influencing how collectors view other examples from the same year. Prices adjust not only because of rarity, but because of renewed attention and belief. In this way, the value of the 1981 cent is partially constructed through shared understanding and collective enthusiasm. Auction descriptions, research articles, videos, and word of mouth all contribute to shaping this understanding, reinforcing certain narratives while fading others. Coins that align well with these narratives tend to perform better over time, and the 1981 error cent aligns exceptionally well. Another subtle yet crucial factor is provenance, the documented history of a coin's ownership. A 1981 cent with an impressive error may already be valuable, but if it can be traced to a famous collection, a notable discovery story, or an early certification event, its appeal multiplies. Provenance adds human context, transforming a piece of metal into a chapter of numismatic history. Collectors are not merely acquiring an object. They are inheriting a story that connects them to previous caretakers, to moments of discovery, and to the evolving knowledge of the hobby. As these stories accumulate, they enhance the perceived legitimacy and importance of the coin. The physical act of searching for 1981 cents also deserves attention, because it shapes the emotional bond collectors form with the coin. Roll hunting, sorting through thousands of cents by hand, develops patience, focus, and an almost meditative attention to detail. When a collector finally spots something unusual, perhaps a distorted date, an odd texture, or an unexpected weight, the emotional payoff is immense. That emotional imprint often stays with the coin forever, influencing how it is valued and remembered. Many significant error coins remain in collections not because they are constantly traded, but because their finders feel a personal connection that transcends market price. The global perspective further expands the story. American coins circulate far beyond U.S. borders through travel, trade, and migration. It is entirely possible for a rare 1981 error cent to surface decades later in a foreign country, discovered by someone with no initial awareness of its significance. Such finds add an element of unpredictability and reinforce the idea that the story is still unfolding. Each unexpected discovery challenges assumptions about population estimates and reminds collectors that certainty in numismatics is always provisional. From an analytical standpoint, the metal itself continues to play a symbolic role. Copper carries associations of durability, conductivity, and historical continuity, having been used in coinage for thousands of years across civilizations. The decision to move away from copper in U.S. cents marked not just a technical change, but a philosophical one, signaling a shift toward abstraction and cost efficiency in everyday money. The 1981 cent, therefore, stands as one of the last representatives of an ancient tradition, and errors on such a coin feel especially poignant, as if imperfections were the final signatures of a departing material culture. Over time, as younger generations enter the hobby, the way they encounter the 1981 cent may differ, but the core fascination remains. Digital platforms make information instantly accessible, allowing newcomers to learn about error diagnostics, grading standards, and historical context quickly. This accessibility broadens the collector base and ensures that interest does not fade with older generations. When stories circulate about astonishing valuations or legendary finds, they capture imagination and draw new participants into the search, sustaining demand across age groups and regions. The notion of immense market value, including figures like $241 million, ultimately rests on this convergence of factors: scarcity shaped by time, meaning anchored in history, emotion driven by discovery, and belief reinforced by shared narratives. While such figures may seem abstract or exaggerated to outsiders, within the framework of high-level collecting, they represent a way of expressing collective importance rather than a single price tag. They speak to what the category as a whole signifies, not just what one coin might sell for on a given day. As the layers continue to build, the 1981 1 cent transforms from an object of curiosity into a symbol of how value is created, preserved, and transmitted across generations. It demonstrates that even the smallest denominations can carry immense weight when history, error, and human fascination intersect. And with every passing year, as fewer untouched examples remain and knowledge continues to deepen, the quiet power of this coin only grows, ensuring that its story remains alive, evolving, and endlessly compelling. As the narrative flows onward, the 1981 1 cent begins to embody something even larger than rarity or market speculation, becoming a mirror for how humans assign meaning to objects that outlive their original purpose. A penny was never meant to be saved, admired, or studied under magnification. Yet the survival of certain 1981 cents in extraordinary states of preservation challenges that original intent and redefines what money can become once it exits circulation. This transformation from utility to artifact is gradual and almost invisible, occurring one coin at a time as people pause, hesitate, and decide not to spend what they are holding. That hesitation, multiplied across thousands of individuals over decades, is what ultimately creates the conditions for extraordinary value. The 1981 cent also reflects the tension between mass production and individuality. Billions were struck to be identical, interchangeable, and forgettable, yet errors disrupt that uniformity and introduce individuality where none was intended. A misaligned die, a cracked surface, or an off-center strike gives a single coin a personality, a fingerprint that separates it from every other cent ever made. In a world increasingly defined by replication and standardization, this accidental individuality is deeply appealing. Collectors are drawn to it not only because it is rare, but because it feels human, a reminder that even the most automated systems are shaped by fallible hands and imperfect machines that as decades pass. Stories accumulate around these coins, sometimes quietly within families, sometimes loudly through auctions and online forums. A 1981 error cent discovered by a child searching through pocket change may become a lifelong memory, a first spark that leads to a deeper engagement with history and collecting. Another might be uncovered by a retiree revisiting old rolls saved long ago, reconnecting them with a different chapter of their life. These personal narratives, though rarely recorded in price guides, form an invisible network of meaning that surrounds the coin and enhances its cultural presence. The professional side of the market continues to evolve as well, with dealers, researchers, and grading services refining classification systems and expanding error catalogs. What was once considered an oddity may later be recognized as a distinct variety, complete with diagnostic markers and population estimates. Each refinement sharpens understanding and can shift demand in subtle but significant ways. A newly recognized 1981 error type, even if only a handful are known, can quickly become a focal point for specialists, drawing attention back to the year and reinforcing its importance within the broader Lincoln Cent series. That long-term investment perspectives also play a role in sustaining interest. While most collectors begin with curiosity or nostalgia, some eventually recognize the potential of rare coins as stores of value. Unlike stocks or digital assets, coins are tangible, finite, and immune to technological obsolescence. A 1981 cent with a dramatic error will remain what it is regardless of changes in markets or currencies. This permanence appeals to those who value physical assets with documented history. As more people adopt this perspective, competition for top-quality examples intensifies, further tightening supply. Another subtle influence is the way coins age aesthetically. Copper develops patina over time, and when preserved correctly, this patina can enhance beauty rather than diminish it. Rich browns, deep reds, and subtle color transitions give mature copper coins a warmth that modern plated coins rarely achieve. An error coin from 1981 that has developed attractive natural toning can be especially captivating, combining technical rarity with visual appeal. Eye appeal is subjective, but it has a powerful effect on desirability and price, often tipping the balance when collectors choose between similar examples. The educational impact of the 1981 cent continues to ripple outward. Coin clubs, workshops, and online tutorials frequently use it as an example when explaining how to identify errors, weigh coins accurately, and distinguish genuine varieties from post-mint damage. This constant instructional presence ensures that the coin remains relevant, repeatedly reintroduced to new audiences. Each new learner represents a potential future collector, researcher, or advocate who will carry the story forward. As these layers intertwine, the idea of immense cumulative value becomes less abstract. It is no longer just about metal content or age, but about the convergence of history, human behavior, and shared belief. When collectors speak of numbers like hundreds of millions of dollars in relation to the 1981 cent category, they are expressing confidence in that convergence, in the idea that these coins collectively represent something far greater than their individual components. Such confidence, once established, tends to reinforce itself, shaping expectations and guiding decisions for years to come. The passage of time also lends the coin a quiet authority. What was once recent becomes historical, what was once common becomes scarce, and what was once overlooked becomes studied. The 1981 cent is now old enough that it belongs firmly to the past, yet recent enough that living memory still surrounds it. This balance makes it uniquely approachable, bridging generations and connecting personal experience with historical analysis. Through all of this, the coin remains unchanged in form, still a small disc of copper alloy bearing the image of Lincoln and the symbols of a nation. Its power lies not in transformation, but in endurance, in its ability to accumulate meaning without losing identity. And as collectors, scholars, and enthusiasts continue to engage with it, the story of the 1981 1 cent grows ever richer, not because it was designed to be special, but because time, chance, and human fascination have made it so. As the journey carries on, the 1981 1 cent increasingly reveals how patience itself becomes a form of currency in the world of collecting. Unlike markets driven by speed and speculation, the true value of a coin like this unfolds slowly, shaped by decades of observation, reassessment, and rediscovery. Many of the most important 1981 error cents known today were not recognized immediately for what they were. They sat unnoticed in collections, drawers, or boxes for years until knowledge caught up with them. This delayed recognition adds a layer of intrigue, suggesting that even now, there may be coins waiting quietly to be understood, their significance locked away not by rarity alone, but by lack of awareness. The relationship between knowledge and value becomes especially clear here. As research deepens, as more examples are documented and compared, the picture of what makes a 1981 cent truly exceptional becomes sharper. Minute details once overlooked gain importance, such as the exact shape of a die crack, the progression of a break across multiple strikes, or the alignment of design elements in an off-center error. These details allow specialists to place a coin within a specific moment of die life, reconstructing the sequence of events that led to its creation. In doing so, the coin transforms from an isolated curiosity into evidence, a physical record of process and failure within the mint. This forensic aspect appeals strongly to a certain type of collector, one who values understanding as much as ownership. For them, a 1981 error cent is not just something to display, but something to study, to measure, to compare. They weigh it precisely, examine it under varying light, and document its features meticulously. Their findings often circulate through articles, forums, and presentations, contributing to a collective body of knowledge that benefits the entire community. Each contribution, no matter how small, strengthens the foundation upon which long-term value rests. Social dynamics within the hobby also influence how the 1981 cent is perceived. Recognition from peers, publication in respected outlets, or inclusion in major collections all enhance a coin's status. When a particular error variety gains attention from influential collectors or researchers, interest spreads rapidly. Others begin searching for similar examples, re-examining coins they already own, and in some cases uncovering new specimens that expand or redefine the category. This collaborative yet competitive environment keeps the story active and ensures that it continues to evolve rather than stagnate. The broader cultural context continues to lend weight to the coin's narrative. The early 1980s marked a turning point in many aspects of American life, from economic policy to technological development. The 1981 cent, produced at the cusp of these changes, becomes a tangible reminder of that moment. Holding it is like holding a fragment of a specific time, a physical link to an era of adjustment and transition. Errors on such a coin feel especially significant, as if the instability of the time itself left an imprint on the metal. Another powerful influence is the way scarcity is perceived rather than calculated. Exact population numbers for many 1981 era varieties are unknown and may never be fully known. This uncertainty creates space for imagination and speculation, which in turn fuels interest. When collectors believe that only a handful of examples exist, even without definitive proof, they behave accordingly, valuing known specimens more highly and guarding them more carefully. Over time, this behavior can become self-fulfilling. As coins remain off the market and scarcity becomes a lived reality rather than a theoretical one, the emotional satisfaction of ownership cannot be overlooked. For many collectors, acquiring a significant 1981 error cent represents a milestone, a validation of years spent learning and searching. That emotional investment often translates into long-term stewardship rather than quick resale. Coins held this way tend to resurface only rarely, often passing from one generation to the next, which further reduces market supply. Each such instance reinforces the perception that these coins are not merely collectibles, but heirlooms. Technological shifts in documentation and archiving further strengthen the coin's legacy. High-quality images, detailed descriptions, and digital records ensure that even when coins are not publicly visible, their existence is known and acknowledged. This permanence of record prevents important examples from being lost to obscurity and allows future researchers to build upon past work. In this sense, the 1981 cent benefits from living in a time where information preservation is stronger than ever, ensuring that its story will not fade. As attention continues to cycle back to the Lincoln Cent series, driven by anniversaries, new publications, or shifts in collecting trends. The 1981 year repeatedly reasserts itself as a point of interest. It is old enough to feel historical, yet modern enough to feel accessible, a combination that sustains engagement. Each renewed wave of interest brings new eyes and new questions, keeping the narrative dynamic. Ultimately, the enduring strength of the 1981 1 cent lies in its ability to support multiple interpretations at once. It can be a simple reminder of everyday life, a teaching tool, a subject of scholarly study, an investment asset, or a deeply personal treasure. These roles do not compete. They reinforce one another, creating a rich, layered significance that few objects achieve. And as long as people continue to find meaning in such layers, the story of this coin will continue to expand, quietly accumulating value not just in monetary terms, but in understanding, memory, and shared human experience.